Okay guys, I'm here with Millie. We are going to discuss the e-collar today and really go diving deep into this e-collar business, because before you can go use this tool, you must understand what it's used for, what it's not used for, and how the dog perceives and what the dog understands, okay? So right out of the gate, the e-collar is to help us communicate with this dog, okay? It is not a punishment device. It is not used to hurt the dog or negatively impact this dog in any kind of a way. But what it is used for is a communication tool, okay? And with that said, I gotta explain the basis of our communication, right? So you can understand where this comes into play. And for that, we gotta break it down to the very basic stuff, okay? First things first, dogs don't understand English, right? We can't just communicate like we would communicate with a child or our partner or anything like that. We must communicate with them in a way that makes sense to them. So we had to establish a few standard things, right? Like we got to establish when a dog does something right, how do you communicate positivity, right? If she does something I ask her to do, we establish saying yes, giving her food, giving her pets and stuff. All those things communicate the positive behavior. So if she's out here with me, Millie, sit, yes, she does what I ask. I have a way to communicate this positive behavior. Awesome. Okay, baby girl, that's a good girl. Now, we also need a way to communicate something negative. Not that she's done something negative. Actually, when she does something negative, we need to communicate that it is negative without creating negativity around it, okay? And I think that's the biggest key. Modern, like society in our homes and stuff, we often get frustrated at the dog. High energy, jumping around everywhere. Guests come over, it's embarrassing. We tend to get frustrated, we tend to get loud, we try to get more aggressive. And when we try to communicate the negative, the no, in those ways, it always affects our relationship with our dog, right? It always takes something away. So the dog's always looking at us like as unpredictable, right? And so they tend to not take our leadership for what it's worth. We have to change that. We have to have a simple, clear way to help them understand that behavior they're doing over there is something we don't want, and we turn it around and we make them do something instead that's more positive. So how do we do that? And we're talking in terms of when the dog is just off leash, hanging out in our house, in the backyard. 99% of the time, most dogs are off leash and they're just free doing whatever they want. And it's in those moments we catch ourselves and we get in trouble, right? So we're gonna give you a scenario and we're gonna work through that together, and I'm gonna show you how the e-collar comes into play. So let's go ahead and do the door example. It's one of my favorites. It's always a hard thing for a dog to do at the door. Let's say somebody rings the doorbell or knocks at the door. That is a big trigger for a lot of dogs. So now imagine Millie is at home hanging out, the doorbell goes off. She's probably gonna go running to the door to see who it is, barking and investigating and jumping. Now she's already triggered and emotionally compromised, and her fixation is at the door. We need a way to be able to say, Millie, baby girl, come to me, go place, you know, and she's trying to kind of do it. You're okay, I'm not talking to you. So we need a way to be able to achieve a recall and a redirection to the place. Before training, we were resorting to those things we were talking about, whatever, in that spectrum, right? And none of that stuff works. Because the dogs, once they get fixated, emotionally compromised, they close their ears and we are nothing to them anymore. So what we have to do is have a way, a system in which we can communicate no without yelling, screaming, hurting, you know, doing anything negative, but we still get to break the fixation and bring them back to us. Okay, here comes Mr. E-collar, okay? Now, before we could even, I'm gonna pause the scenario stuff right here, and before we could even continue the scenario, first I have to give you a little bit more understanding of her understanding of the e-collar. The e-collar provides a TENS feeling, okay? It's a TENS unit. It does muscle contractions, right? It's not electricity running through their veins. It's not like what the cops use. It's not like a taser, okay? Now, regardless of what this feeling is, a dog normally doesn't know how to associate this feeling to anything, right? They feel a feeling, it doesn't hurt them, it's just like a fly landing on you. But now how do you get a dog to understand that that feeling is indeed me and it's coming from me and it should have a value to it, right? So during her training process, what we've done is classically condition this e-collar feeling, and her number is like a 6 out of 100 that she detects, right? That she feels. So when she felt it, day one in her training, when she felt it, we classically conditioned by saying yes and feeding her some food. And over time, anytime she felt level 6, she just turns around and looks at me and waits for her food. It's Pavlov's bell, just Pavlov's e-collar now. So over a period of time, we do that, and then we do it through distractions, and we do it through other scenarios until the dog is adequately identifying the feeling and then associating it with a positive thing coming to me. And over time, no matter where she is, whether she's 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet away, we play a little game, and when I push the button, she feels it and she runs over to me. And I say yes, and God bless you, Autumn. and we basically reward the dog for feeling the feeling, and then she comes and collects the reward. Inadvertently, we've taught her a recall, okay? And so pretty much if she gets somewhere and I'm saying her name and I notice like she didn't hear me because she's fixated and emotionally compromised, let's go back to the door example. You're calling her name, she's barking at the door, she can't hear you, she won't respond. Now what we do is we push the e-collar at level 6. Even if our audible voices cannot be heard, she will definitely feel it, okay? When she feels it, it's not like, oh, I'm being punished, oh, I'm not sure what's happening or where this is coming from. She will absolutely realize it's mom calling. And we use this to break her fixation. She looks over at us, we say, come. She's already practiced come 100,000 times, right? And she'll continue to until she gets home. And you'll continue to practice with her more when she gets home. But the idea is you break the fixation, you ask the dog to do a simple task that she already knows how to do so efficiently, so well. It's just a recall. You do that, you ask her to go place, that overrides her feelings and what she'd rather do. If she breaks and heads over that way, all red zone, emotionally compromised, we use the e-collar again to help break that fixation, recall, help her get to what she needs to get to, where she's positive, reward her, get to the door, open, come back, reward. And in this way, you've adjusted a behavior that otherwise could not be adjusted. Now, if that's day one, day two is much simpler. The dog already understands, oh, I'm not going to be allowed to go there and fixate and bark and be crazy. I must come back and lay here. So day two, you might avoid all the errors and you just might get success. So then you just avoid the e-collar and you just pay the dog immediately, you know. But it's in this process where we speak commands to the dog and the dog gets this chance to come over and do what we're asking or ignores us. And in that case, when we notice she's ignoring, we use the e-collar to break fixation and get attention and engagement back. And then we can proceed with our normal endeavors, right? With our normal stuff. Now, she's thriving. She's doing really, really excellent with the e-collar. When you guys come for your lesson here, that's kind of what we're gonna help you guys do. And we're gonna, like she doesn't know the e-collar applies to you guys yet. So we have to do step 1 through 10 with you guys, conditioning and all that stuff with the e-collar when you guys finally show up. And then we'll kind of go through some stuff and talk about it and we'll dive deeper into it. It's so hard to talk to a camera. So I think I have explained the pieces that I wanted to today. If you guys have any questions, just send me a message and I'll be more than happy to dive deeper, okay? We'll talk about the buttons, we'll talk about turning it on and off and the levels and stuff, but this is the layer 1 of understanding, okay? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hope that was clear for you guys. If it wasn't, let me know. Thanks.